Season 4, Episode 6 of From just changed the way we're supposed to look at FROMVILLE, because every major storyline in this episode revolves around the same question. Can the people in FROMVILLE trust what they're being shown? The visions, the dreams, the memories, the voices, even reality itself. And while most of the characters are following information being handed to them, one character may have accidentally revealed the system's biggest weakness. And for the first time all season, that gave me hope they might actually escape. So today, I'm going over 5 clues that you probably missed that suggest the real battle in FROMVILLE isn't just against the monsters, it's against manipulation. I'll also be discussing a few questions that I have after watching this episode. But before we get started, let me introduce myself if you're new here. And if you're not new here, then welcome back. My name is Brandi, and I realize that you could be on any channel in the world, but you're right here with me, and I really do appreciate that. So please go ahead and like this video. It really does help the channel out, and I greatly appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy watching TV show reviews. Now, clue number 1 involves Boyd, and the title of this episode, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Now, we need to track 2 things that happened in this episode because together they may explain how FROMVILLE actually works. First, Donna. She has a heart attack. Christy and Marielle make the logical call and stop trying to revive her. But Boyd doesn't. He keeps going, and somehow Donna comes back. Also, Boyd and Jade, they search the Colony House basement for the hidden door that Jade saw during his mushroom trip. And they initially come up empty-handed and they leave. But by the end of the episode, Boyd refuses to accept that. He goes back to the Colony House basement alone, smashes through the wall, and he finds the hidden door. 2 impossible outcomes, and both happen because Boyd refused to quit. At first, it almost feels like Boyd is able to will things into existence, like he has some type of superpower, right? And honestly, we have witnessed Boyd seemingly bending reality a number of times in the past. When Boyd was in trouble in the forest, the talisman somehow found Boyd. He survived the whole Martin and the worm situation, and the music box storyline revolved around Boyd as well. And somehow Boyd always seems to be standing at the center of every major turning point. So here's my question. What is the system of FROMVILLE using Boyd for? Or even if this show turns out to be purely supernatural, why are they keeping Boyd alive when he is such a threat? I mentioned on my last From video that I didn't think that these people are making it out alive because FROMVILLE seems to be controlling most of their visions, most of their memories, and the characters seem to be consumed by the voices, visions, fear, and the emotional frequency of the town. But maybe survival does require balance, the ability to hear the system without letting it fully overwrite your own thoughts. Because if FROMVILLE operates through emotional resonance and psychological influence, then a real battle may not be physical at all. It may be about maintaining your identity while still learning how to tune into the deeper truth of the system. And that's exactly what we witnessed Boyd do on this episode, and he really gave me hope. Because unlike Sarah, Jade, Elgin, Boyd doesn't precisely follow the visions and the voices in his head. Even when Abby appears, Boyd argues with her. And when Father Khatri appears, Boyd pushes him away too. So Boyd doesn't respond to random messages. He has to be reached through the people that he loves and trusts the most. And even then, he does not obey blindly, which makes Boyd different. And this matters because of what Boyd is actually doing inside the system. Now, the episode title, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, is not an accident. That's a 1940 novel about how desperate, isolated people project their deepest needs onto a figure they believe is completely free. One person that everyone trusts. One person the system needs them to believe is operating independently. Because Boyd isn't just surviving inside the system, he's functioning inside of it and playing at least a few different specific roles. In my opinion, I see him as the stabilizer, an unlocker, a control variable, and even a hope engine for the people. But I do predict that Boyd will catch on to the system using him. But at this point, FROMVILLE is making a mistake, and they still view Boyd as a pawn and not as the strategist that he is. Boyd's best chance may be to keep playing his roles. And if Boyd ever realizes that he's being used, his greatest weapon won't be resistance. His greatest weapon will be deception. Let the system think it's winning, then flip the board at the last possible second. And that gives me a lot of hope that my people will escape FROMVILLE eventually. Now, clue number 2, which also gave me hope, is that the man in yellow seems to be running the same play again. Now, one of the creepiest moments in this episode happens when Sophia sits down with Henry at the bar while he's at his low point because he just learned the horrifying truth about what happened to his wife Miranda, and he's grieving, he's vulnerable, and Sophia takes full advantage of it. First, she gets him drunk. Well, they shouldn't have been drinking together anyway. But then she listens. She learns something incredibly important. Victor was present during the last massacre. And then comes the moment that should have all of us worried. Sophia cuts her thumb open and lets her blood drip into Henry's drink before he unknowingly drinks it. Throughout mythology and horror stories, drinking someone's blood is often associated with taking on part of that person's essence, forming a connection or being influenced by them. And what happens immediately after this? Sophia begins planting an idea in Henry's head. She asks him if he thinks FROMVILLE might all be a dream. And that instantly reminded me of Abby, Boyd's late wife. Now remember, Abby became convinced that FROMVILLE wasn't real. She believed everyone was trapped in a nightmare and that the only way to wake up was to die. So here's my question. What if Sophia isn't the first form the man in yellow has taken? What if the man in yellow has been living among the residents for years, disguised as different people throughout different cycles? Because if the man in yellow can appear as Sophia, then he could have appeared as someone else when Abby was alive. And he could have planted that same dream theory in her head. And if that's true, then Sophia isn't just manipulating Henry emotionally, she's planting a narrative. She is trying to get the story to move along in a certain fashion. Now, it might all just be a coincidence that I'm thinking back to Abby, but I really think that we're watching the man in yellow run the same play all over again. And as I've also said in the past, the man in yellow is not the ultimate entity that we need to be worried about. He is just an enforcer of the narrative, an enforcer of the way Ethan's storybook is supposed to play out, but he is not the ultimate big bad. And this scene actually proved it to me as well. Like, he's learning that Victor was present during the massacre. I mean, the way Sophia's expressions are, it seems like she doesn't know as much as I thought that she would. Like, she's learning as she goes along. And that gives me hope, because now that Boyd and team are trying to figure out who the man in yellow is, and we see that Sophia has her flaws because she doesn't know everything, I think that they could overcome the man in yellow. And then I think in season 5, maybe we'll be dealing with them going toe-to-toe with the ultimate entity. And clue number 3 is the hidden door. In Jade's mushroom vision, he saw the hidden door in a colony house basement, and it was blocked by piles of personal belongings. But in real life, Boyd didn't just have to move the clutter out of the way. He had to break through the entire stone wall before they could even reach the door. So that tells us that Jade may not have been seeing the basement as it exists right now. He may have been seeing the basement from an earlier point in time before someone sealed the tunnel off completely. And that changes everything, because if that door was once only hidden behind belongings but later covered by stone, then somebody knew it was there. Somebody intentionally buried it. Somebody decided that whatever was behind that door needed to stay hidden. Which brings us to the real question: who built that wall? But there are other possibilities too. Maybe the wall itself is a warning. What if a previous group of residents, they found the tunnel, they learned something they weren't supposed to know, and sealed it shut to protect future residents? And that's what makes this clue so interesting, because yes, Jade's vision led Boyd directly to a real hidden door. And honestly, I don't think the visions Jade received during his mushroom trip are fully accurate, which means that the vision may have been sent to Jade as a misdirection rather than a roadmap. especially when you consider that we still have an entire season and 4 episodes left to go. It feels way too early for Jade to suddenly be handed a direct path to the answers. So if parts of Jade's visions were true and parts were omitted, then we have to start asking a much bigger question of Jade and all the residents of FROMVILLE. Are the visions guiding them towards the truth or guiding them exactly where FROMVILLE wants them to go? And clue number 4 is about the second part of Jade's vision, which gives me hope, because his mushroom trip didn't just give him one answer, it gave him 2. It showed him how to access the chamber, which is through the hidden door that we just talked about. And it also told him what to do when he gets down into the tunnel. He needs to retrieve the bones of the Ankui children and give them a proper burial. Now, think about why the burial specifically matters. The show told us, and I'm paraphrasing here across a couple of different episodes, that the children were murdered in the dark, but someone who loved them told them a story. And that story gave them hope. And then they poured that hope into the roots, and those roots became the tree. And that hope is still running, guys. Those children are still waiting to be saved. And as long as they're waiting, the cycle keeps spinning. A proper burial doesn't just honor their remains, it gives them permission to stop hoping. And when that hope dissolves, the engine dies. Hopefully. And the creatures know this though, because we know from season 3 that the creatures are the adults, the one who originally sacrificed those children for eternal life, and their immortality is tied directly to those bones staying exactly where they are, apparently. And that's why the monsters are guarding that location. They're not just protecting the chamber, they're protecting their own existence. So here's the synthesis. The door being real means the vision is real. And if the vision is real about the door, it's real about the bones. Jade didn't just stumble onto a theory, he received both answers in the same vision. But I'm only trusting the what he needs to do, because that makes sense and it tracks with everything we've seen since season 1. And I think Boyd knows it too, which is why their argument isn't really about whether Jade is right. It's about whether surviving long enough to use the answer is even possible. So Boyd is just trying to make sure that they have a proper plan in place before they enter the tunnels. Again, Boyd is just striking that balance between, hey, we're going to use the information in your visions, but we're going to verify and we're going to do things the right way. And clue number 5 is just a little clue, the viewfinder. One of the easiest details to overlook in episode 6 happens down in the Colony House basement. When Boyd and Jade, they go down to the basement, they see Acosta and she's sorting through some old belongings and she picks up an antique Viewmaster. She looks through it and she sees images of a lake near a mountain, and she also sees pyramids. Now, most of us will focus on the lake or the pyramids, and to be fair, that could be important too. But earlier in the episode, Jade is talking about pharaohs and becomes convinced that the way home may involve freeing the children's bones that he saw in the sacrificial chamber during his mushroom vision. So the pyramids could be another subtle connection to the tombs, to sacrifice, to death, and the idea that the answers may lie with the dead. But honestly, I think the bigger clue is the Viewmaster itself, because the Viewmaster doesn't just show you reality, it shows you a carefully selected image, a limited perspective, a version of reality chosen by someone else. And if there's one theme that keeps coming up, it's the idea that people in FROMVILLE may not be seeing the full picture. Their visions can be manipulated. Their dreams can be manipulated. Their memories can be manipulated. And as I talked about earlier, I don't even know if all of their thoughts belong to them. So what if this little moment is the writers quietly reminding us of something important? Everyone in FROMVILLE is looking through a viewfinder. They're all seeing pieces of the truth, but nobody can see the entire picture. And the pyramid image may reinforce that idea, because just like the residents of FROMVILLE, archaeologists spent centuries staring at the pyramids, trying to figure out what they were, who built them, and what secrets were hidden inside. Maybe the clue isn't Egypt, maybe the clue is perspective, because the real question isn't whether the people in FROMVILLE are seeing something. The real question is whether they're seeing the truth or just a version of reality that someone wants them to see. Now let's move on to the questions that I have after watching this episode. The first question involves Donna and her brief death, because Donna was dead for maybe about 7 to 10 minutes or so. Now I'm wondering what Donna saw during that time, and I'm also wondering if whatever nightmares Donna has, are we going to see those nightmares come to life the way we see other people that have passed away in FROMVILLE, the way their nightmares come true? And my next question involves Father Khatri. We see that he used the same phrase as the boy in white did when he told Boyd, "You're running out of time." And it makes me wonder if the ghosts, such as Father Khatri, the boy in white, maybe even Abby and Martin, do they know the end game here? It's almost as if they're a part of an audience and they're just watching a sport or a game and they know how everything ends, but they can't tell the player. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Just curious about the ghosts in FROMVILLE and if they're good or bad or if they're just audience members. And I'm also curious about Father Khatri's bottle that Boyd keeps drinking from. I mean, I think he's been drinking from that bottle since last season. But anyway, the bottle of liquor is about to finish. And I wonder if that is going to be symbolic in a way. Like once the liquor finishes, will Father Khatri stop coming to Boyd where their connection ends when the liquor ends? Can't wait to see what happens when that bottle finishes. And I'm also curious about Sarah's reaction when her and Julie were talking about donuts. Why did she act as if she didn't know what a donut was or that she could barely remember donuts? I thought that was very odd. So I'm not sure if the writers are foreshadowing something that we'll see in a future episode, but I just wanted to put a pin right there that we need to pay attention to donuts or maybe even any ring-like objects in the future. And lastly, not a question, but a comment. They really need to burn Roger's body right away. I think we all see it. We see that Roger is about to come to life and terrorize the town. And I'm here for it. I'm excited to see some action. But let me say this, though. I've heard a lot of people say in the comments previously that season 4, episode 7 is going to be absolute fire. Because think about it, it's that number 47. So we should have something really good in store for next week. And maybe that will involve Roger coming to life and haunting to town. But we'll just have to wait and see. But guys, let me know what you thought of Boyd and his actions on this episode. I was really impressed by Boyd. I'm happy for him. I'm rooting for him. I think he's a great leader. And I'm excited because now I think that he could get them out of FROMVILLE. Although he always exhibited like strong leadership skills, I think the balance that I saw him exhibit in this episode was unique. But nonetheless, guys, if you made it this far in the video, please drop me down. I don't know what color to use today. Just drop me down any color heart below. And also, you guys need to check out Widow's Bay if you haven't done so just yet. I am covering that show, and it's very mysterious, confusing, and complex, just like From. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I love you all. Hope you guys stay safe out there. And until next time, peace.